Welcome back, everyone, to the Victory Road World Cup Finals pre-show, sponsored by Elgato, GG Tour, and Metafi. I'm Yuki Zeninovic, and I'm joined here by Evan Wang, who just gave us an awesome statistics wrap-up of the entire tournament. How's it going, Evan?
Thanks, Yuki. Yeah, that was very fun. It's something that I grown a passion with. Last year when I played in the World Cup, I was like the main scouter for Team Singapore, and then moving on, to just the whole event in general. It's such a nice way to come full circle. Just very thankful for Victory Road for giving me this opportunity. But with that out of the way, let's go through what we're going to do now, right? Like the manager's interview and kind of highlighting how these two countries of Canada and Thailand came all the way here and how much they deserve to be in the finals of our World Cup.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a really valuable time that we get to hear their perspectives here because, we go through so many matches, we feature so many players, across all the weeks of this tournament. We really can't fit in that time to do the player interviews that much. So the fact that we can do this for the grand finals where the stakes are so high, I think is super valuable. So before we go into that, I think we can talk a little bit about the overall, bracket and the top cut. I think this has been an absolute upset of a tournament in my perspective. I'm looking forward to hearing what you think, but I'm looking at names like Japan, who is really, expected to go, at least to the top four or something. They just had such a high, rate of players that went from day one to day two in the World Championships. We had, Italy, who was a runner-up last year, who were immediately eliminated in the top 16. We don't even see Spain here at all, where they won the entire tournament last year. So, I think there's just so many upsets going on. And if you just look at the top four teams, none of those teams even made it into the top four last year. Canada had to come all the way from the qualifying stage. So just such a grueling tournament for that team.
Yep, shout outs to Canada, Australia, Thailand, and France for just making it so far. Just having so many upsets along the way. Just such a impressive run, like all the way through the playoffs. Yeah, then there are also other teams that kind of made top 8 last year and got back into the top 16 bracket, and those are Singapore, United States, and South Korea. So being able to repeat this performance is nice to see. But man, how the way things shook out, it's just so nice and very fresh to see for a brand new year and a brand new season for World Cup. Of course, the teams that make top 8, as you can see in this chart, this bracket here, will get a bye, for the qualifying rounds in next year's World Cup. So that's something nice to walk home with. And in terms of the prize money, the top 4 teams will get $500 each, right? And then like the second place and the first place team will get $1,500 and $2,500 altogether. So very nice to see Canada and Thailand being the front and center of all of this.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And we can go ahead and just go straight into looking at these teams overall, their season this year so far. We see, like we talked about earlier, Canada had to go through the qualifying rounds. So, I think they kind of had the disadvantage of having to go through 3 extra weeks, having to play. Of course, Thailand can kind of exploit that. They have a lot more data, right? Like this is a game of data where you can see what kind of teams the players have been using. And when you have more weeks to go off of, then you can make a more educated guess about, what kind of comfort teams they use, what kind of comfort archetypes they have for each player. So, in my perspective, I think Thailand has that advantage there. But, Canada is certainly, going to put up a big fight. Like they had such a great win record, taking down, huge favorites like India and Australia in top cut. So I think we can really expect a great grand finals here.
Yeah, so Canada's run, they actually started off the qualifier stage with 3 wins, right? Although they seemed to be really close, they were just getting their footing, but these 3 wins really propelled their success all the way. And like after the groups got into the top cut, like beating Thailand, Taiwan, India, and Australia back to back, just to make it here. Such a nice thing to see them like ride the momentum all the way through. From Thailand's side, Thailand, you can say that they are undefeated right now with only 2 ties. At the same time to India as well, right? Like both teams managed to fight India and Costa Rica. So
Yes.
having gone toe to toe with India, starting off the season a little bit shaky, right? You can see their group's performance just eking it out, but really stepping it up and just doing so well, dominating with those impressive like 4-0, 4-1 records in the top cut bracket.
Absolutely impressive to make it this far, and especially not having that experience of not even making it to the top four last year, let alone grand finals. This is a new experience for both these teams, and I just can't wait to hear what they have to say, Evan. So, without much further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our managers. We have the absolute privilege of hearing from John Mark of Canada and TT Pong from Thailand. How are you two doing?
Hello.
I'm good. How about you guys?
Great, thanks so much for joining us.
And then nice
Yeah,
Taka head. Nice Taka head there from John Mark. And yeah, from Titi Pong, same time zone as me, right? Like in Southeast Asia here. So Southeast Asia represent from Singapore and Thailand. Thanks all of you guys for joining us.
It's actually such a privilege to hear from both of you. So, I think we can go ahead and kick it off with the questions. I think the first thing we would like to know is, just what are your overall thoughts going to this grand finals? I know this is a new experience for both of your teams. And yeah, maybe John Mark, you can kick us off.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy finals. It's just knowing that they not only made top 8 last year, but the fact that they also made it to finals in such a dominant manner, 4-0, 4-1, 4-0, back to back in their bracket is something to really not take lightly. But we also had a tough bracket to make it here, so we know that we've got a realistic shot to take it too. Just have to take it very seriously.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, they have the experience of going to top 8, going in a deep run, so I can see how you might think that might be a disadvantage. But TT Pong, what do you think?
For me, I'm very excited and a bit nervous because we face a lot of good Canada player before in ladder and tournament. Yeah.
So Thailand has, some of the players from Thailand in the online scene have really seen these Canadian players all around, right? So going up against them does feel very nerve-wracking to do so. So I think this like similar things can be said from Canada's side for John Mark, right? Like you guys have seen some of these Thailand players around based on the rosters that they had week in and week out throughout the World Cup, right?
Yeah. One of the reasons also that they're scary, I think about half of the starting roster, we really know they established themselves really well, both online and offline. And the other half, we don't really know too much about them. But the fact that all of them managed to make it to finals mean that we know that we have to be worried about them. But we don't know, the fact that we don't have easy access to info about them also makes it harder to be able to scout.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And from the whole World Cup run through all these 10 weeks, you could also see them perform, right? Because they were fielded to play their games. And then part of the homework is really scouting. And you could see like both countries just putting in such good performances all the way towards this stage that we are at.
Yeah, and John Mark, I love how you brought up, just the kind of difference in, the experience level and, how stable some of your players were, because I would love to hear about like how you come up with your team, right? Like I think some teams like to have a tryouts. Some teams just like to know by, word of mouth, like just understanding from like your community, like who is the most, reputable players, the ones that are most consistent. So how did you go about figuring out who will be on Team Canada this year?
For Canada, we always do tryouts, and no one can skip tryouts, because part of what we think makes tryouts something that's worth something is the fact that they're going to be facing the mainstay players. If they don't really face the better players, it's not really something that can be representative of what a deep run in World Cup is like. But we also don't really do at least the way we do tryouts is not really the way I hear other teams do it, where it helps that we're generally not one of the largest country, but still big enough where we have 30 people sign up more or less, which is big but not too big. So we split the field in 4, put them in different teams, and have them prep against one of the other teams in 3 shortened weeks. And then we evaluate everything from there between how they prep, how they help the rest of the team prep, how they play, how they select teams. So heading into it, even if they don't really have a lot of experience in team tournaments, they still have the tryouts that gives them basically a 1-1 experience to begin with.
Wow, that's so cool. That's like mini World Cup or like mini CPA, Canada Pokemon Association. How about Bank Zeno? How about Titi Pong? How did Thailand choose your players? Because you guys had 8 players return from 2021 to the 2022 roster. So how do you guys choose them?
For me, we give priority to some player who have a good achievement in the past because in Thailand we don't have much player who like to play for competitive. That's why we choose a good result in the past.
Nice. So coming up, checking players' past records, since Thailand and some of our countries here in Southeast Asia don't have much of a format, and it's very nice to see a lot of these players from Thailand start VGC so early on, like even before like 2020, right? Like players that have so much experience.
We still need.
Yeah. I think it's so valuable that, we get to hear from you today for that reason, right? Because we don't have, the official circuit. So it's a lot harder to talk to the Thailand players. So yeah, I really, really appreciate that we can talk about that here. But I guess we can move on to our last question for overall, which is a little bit more on like the preparation and the team building. I think both teams have like a lot of differences there and how you come up with the teams that you use. Like, do you do counter teaming? Do you go for comfort picks of your individual players? So yeah, John Mark, maybe you can kick us off. Like one thing that I think, Evan and I noticed just looking at your season is that you have about 40% of the time you're using Swordfish, the Kyogre and Zacian teams. And you actually have a pretty high win rate. It's about 72%, which is really, really high. So can you talk a little bit there?
Honestly, it really depends on the player because, like, to begin with, most of the roster is experienced in team leagues, so they already have an idea of how they want to prep. And most of them have had success in team leagues. So the last thing I want to do is force them into a certain way to prep when they're successful with their own way. So basically, the main thing I want to do is just enable them to make sure that the way that they prep can be done as well as they could. So certain players are definitely going to, like, I know you guys have mentioned Navjit, who went 8-0 with basically the same core. He's gonna take a look and try making sure that I'm not really gonna get too into it just because finals are gonna get into it, but like clearly with that kind of record, he wants to prepare differently than someone who will want to use a different team every week. So
before we move on to Thailand, I have another question for John Mark. You do have some experience in other team leagues like NPA or like the USPA tour, right? How does that experience leading a team like Canada and just a lot of your close friends, how does it translate over to this World Cup?
Honestly, one of the things also that helped a lot is, including when World Cup was not hosted by Victory Road, I think it's
the Trainer Tower.
My 4th or 5th year managing for Team Canada.
Right.
And when I started managing, we didn't win a single week. And going from that to finals, obviously, we learned things that, okay, that doesn't really work. That works, and just started building more success. And we realized that, okay, we're not necessarily the biggest names, but we still have good players. We just need to make sure that we work well as a team, and it's just learning how we do that year after year.
Well said. And how about Thailand, Titi Pong? How did you guys approach each week? How did Thailand plan against your opponents every week of World Cup?
Normally, we choose a team and practice on match up with many archetypes within our teammate. Okay, like it.
Nice. So I noticed that the players in Team Thailand, they like to look at popular results, maybe on Twitter or the rest of the world, and then they really put in the time to practice that one team versus a lot of different archetypes, and maybe that's what makes them comfortable approaching their opponents each week.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think, as we get into the player profiles in a little bit, I think we can kind of look back in a way on how each of these, different teams, what kind of teams they brought and how they prepared. But I think you see definitely a little bit more diversity on Thailand's team, just using a lot more, both non-conventional teams and also, just like a huge spread in terms of what teams they use. It's a lot more unpredictable, even in terms of like the individual restricted Pokemon they use, but also just the pairing of them. So I'm really excited to see what that looks like. So, in a second, I think we can go ahead and kind of review the individual matchups we'll be seeing in this grand finals on Championship Sunday. So I think we can kick it off with the first match here between Killen and Jong Daejong over from Thailand's side. So we can kick it off with John Mark. Can you give us a little overview of Killen's season?
Yeah, I kind of had a very he was one of the people that we probably would have missed out on if we didn't do tryouts, because basically the reason he already had a regional win in seniors, but we had a few like that, so picking one of them is not necessarily something easy. But based on how he played in tryouts, how he prepared, worked with the rest of the team, he just felt like a natural fit, and the effort he put in throughout World Cup and the results he put in were pretty good, despite facing a very tough bracket. Like we can see, like Andrea, Chris Khan. Basically, we knew he could rely on him week in and week out. So it was really nice that the fact that tryouts gave him a chance and he took full advantage of it was really nice.
Wow, that's so cool to see, and you can see the variety of teams that he's been using, and just the amount of effort he puts in for prep each week, and it's a really good result to go up against such good players from all over the world. A lot of names that we recognize here. And how about Thailand? Titipong, what do you feel about DJ? He's a new player to Thailand, right?
Yeah. He really new, and for me, I think he's a really good player because he always practice a lot and help us for team building and best of three practice, something like that. And he never make us feel disappointed in him. We always believe in him.
Personally, I was in another draft league that was a bit smaller, not like NPA or World Cup level, but DJ was my team member. We drafted him. I didn't really know him earlier, but I got to know him more in our team, and he's someone who's very reliable, and that's from my own experience. And he always works with Nara, which also known as My Stars. A very cool duo and very nice teamwork there for Thailand.
True.
Yeah, I think the teamwork is very, very strong over on both players' teams, and I just love the 5-1 record from Daejong is definitely something to respect. So excited to see what he's like in this first match, and I think we can kind of transition over to the second matchup we'll have between Canada and Thailand. Once we can transition the slides here, we have 7 total matchups for this weekend. So. A lot of action to be coming up here. And over on Canada's side, we have Ryan Lacedo, and over on Thailand's side, we have Narwish Naina.
So, what do you think about Ryan Lacedo, also known as Sableye VGC, John Mark?
Ryan is one of our biggest names and one of our most consistent players. He's been on the team basically since I've started managing Team Canada. He's put good performances basically every year, both online and offline. He's been a very solid player. He's been the kind of player that we put him in, and we're pretty confident that if he's not gonna give us a win, he's gonna give us as close to win as he can.
Yeah, well
I mean,
said.
you can tell with just that win record, right? And I guess one quick question before we move on to Norwich is, you can really tell that he has a lot of different teams that he can use that he can win with. And I guess I'm just curious, like, is this something like, is he just like switching around teams a lot, or is this just something that he's really, really, has, the counter teaming on top of mind?
In general, I think it's both. He's comfortable with picking things differently, and also as much as it is about counter teaming, it's also worried about not getting counter teamed. Where
Oh,
okay, if he's this might start looking a bit too similar. I'm starting to get a trend. I want to make sure that I'm running something that is not really going to be too easily countered. So I'm going to mix it up with this.
it's kind of cool to see a pattern there, like Calyrex, Ice Palkia, and then Lunadon. Oh, sorry, Eveldon, and then back to Calyrex, Ice Palkia, and then back to Eveldon, and then sometimes with very strong teams put in the mix. So very cool from Ryan. And then I was talking about DJ, the first player from Thailand, and My Stars. They are a very strong duo and just very close friends. So Titi Pong, what can you tell me about Narawich, or we know him as My Stars?
He is the one of the best player in our team. His play style is actually like Nontaro because he play like
Oh.
unpredictable. Yeah, for me. And he know a lot of popular team with deep detail. Something like that. That's why he's so good.
Cool. It seems like he does a lot of homework. And for those of you on stream who don't know, that there was a Thailand Nationals. Nontaro is also known as Chayawat, and he won the whole thing. But the person who came in second is Narawich. So these two, they're just like very close teammates and friends in Thailand. And just to see them work together here, and just look at the variety of teams that both players have on screen, it really shows like what John Mark said earlier about how afraid you are of being countered, right? And then how much work you have to put in to practice a new archetype, get good at it, and then still go up against an opponent and try and win your game.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's, might be the hardest matchup for either team to really counter team the other, right? Because there's just so much variety here. Like, how could you possibly over prepare for one? So, I'm just really, really excited to see, even just at the team preview level, it's like, oh, Ryan went with this. Oh, Norwich went for that. Like, I think it just gets exciting just from the team preview level. So, really, really excited to see the second match tomorrow. And yeah, let's go ahead and transition over to the third match of the matchup between Canada and Thailand. And we have William Patterson over from Canada, and we have Papon Jerotangku from Thailand. So, John Mark, tell us a little bit about William.
Yeah, Willie is someone who really made his name during the online era, especially around the end of 2020 onwards, where he just started winning and doing really well in online tournaments and team leagues. This World Cup is really not his best performance. But what he's told us in a few of his sets, it hasn't really been his lucky tournament. He said that he's been unlucky in quite a few of the sets and a few mistakes here and there, but knowing how Willie is, he's really gonna want to be on top of his game for finals.
One thing I want to quickly point out is that Willie's losses were all 1-2 losses. So he really fought hard and he really found a way out, right? He even got that like either first or second game win to bring it to the game 3. So props to that. And then from Thailand's side, Yuki, do you have anything to add for Willie?
Oh no, yeah, I just love how you pointed that out because I'm just looking at, okay, so he has 3 wins, 4 losses, so he technically lost more sets than he won, but then you look at the game count, it's like, oh, he won 10 games and lost only 9. So it makes you really think like, yeah, like they're a really strong player if they never go down with the fight. So yeah, I think we can definitely expect a really tough match from him. But yeah, I think we can transition over to Papon. Titipon, do you have any thoughts here?
Hello. He has a good achievement in local tournament in Thailand, like an official tournament, and he play Linja Sun very well. Yeah, but he also can play other archetypes too.
Yeah, I noticed when scouting, because Papon appeared in a lot of our recent stream matches the past few weeks, then what I always put there is he always uses Groudon. So he really does like perform well on stream as a Groudon player, and curious to see what he would bring to these finals against Willie.
Yeah, you could see the 4 straight weeks of Groudon, and then you get into the top 8, and you probably thought, okay, I need to relax a little bit on the Groudon. I'm going to get counter teamed. So moving into the Dialga team that Shonoma Honami famously used on stream on day 1 to get to day 2, and then a really unconventional Kyogre Yveltal team. So I think maybe what's on John Mark's mind is, okay, like, do I tell William to prepare for Groudon, or is he going to continue to mix it up? So just another exciting match where I think at team preview, I think both teams will go, oh, this is exactly what they decided to bring. So yeah, really excited to see that one. And I think we can go ahead and transition over to the 4th match. This will be basically the midpoint of the Championship Sunday tomorrow.
True. So next player that we have, the next 2 players that we are featuring are Matt Tit from Canada and the one and only Nontaro, Chayawat Charicha from Thailand. So Matt Tit is a player that I've seen recently in like 2020, right? Jean-Marc, what do you have to say about him?
It is one of the most interesting players that we have. Since he started playing in 2017, the teams that he uses are always so unique. But the thing is, even though he might build some very unusual and weird stuff, as he's shown in this run, he's also able to run something that is about as standard as it gets and still deliver the wins when we need them. So
to me, Matt T is most known for the Dialga and Kyogre, something that I think he created himself and used for World Cup. And then it seems like his kind of go-to archetype, which is to use Dialga in a Series 12 match.
Yeah, since he started playing the Trick Room, is something that he's always really like building around, and Restricted like Dialga is the kind that really works around that, especially with the kind of way that, because it's a weird way of Trick Room that kind of works to how he plays, and Zelda really enables that.
I see.
Right.
And then for
that.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, yeah. Every week you notice either Matt is using Dialga and Calyrex Ice, or something with Kyogre in it, and the partner of Kyogre is a little bit more unpredictable. So yeah, I just wanted to point out that it'd be interesting that if he decides to completely throw in and use a third different composition than his usual. And yeah, over on Thailand's side, TT4, I would love to hear your thoughts on Chayawat in general, but also you see in 2 of the group weeks, you did not use Chayawat. So I want to hear your thoughts on that as well.
Natalo is a monster. He is the best player in Southeast Asia because last time he made it to top 32 World Championship. That's why he's the best. He very strong and help other a lot for practice and choose the team, something like that, or team building.
Nontaro was the manager for Team Thailand last year, right? And you guys went to top 8. And then what do you feel, Titipong, like sort of taking over or like have Nontaro as your mentor?
Oh, I feel pressure because I'm still new in VGC community too. But Notaro still believe in me, so I'm very happy and glad to hear that from him. Like when he told me that he will let me be a manager for this year.
Nice.
Yeah,
and then I also noticed that Nontaro somehow is always the last few players to play. Is that on purpose or is that just from scheduling?
I think he just busy. That's why
busy.
He always plays slow.
I was thinking like, oh, maybe you guys want him to be the last, just in case you are in a tough situation, and then you will count on Nontaro to take the win. But overall, I'm excited to see how Matt Tit goes up against Nontaro, someone who's so well known in the community and always like topping the ladder. You can see on Twitter. So shall we move on to the next matchup? this will be the 5th matchup, and just for all of you guys on stream, all these matches are actually shown in the order that they have scheduled. So hopefully we'll give you guys a show where you just see the pressure of the players because they already know the score going into their matches. So over here we have John Mark.
Washed up. It's weird trying to talk about myself, but overall, not as well as I wish I would have done so far. A bit busy between trying to manage real life obligations, like week 3 of groups, because of the fact that I was going to be traveling to Worlds. I really didn't want to field myself because it probably would have made it too hard, especially with the time zone difference. And then afterwards, I feel like I've been out prepped most of the time, except like Australia, where at that point our week was already decided. So I figured, okay, we want. I think we want Kyukumuku to show up at least once for the mascot. So I'm gonna be the one to do it.
Yeah, I like the commitment there. Go ahead, Yuki.
Just your commitment to like showing your mascot on stream, and I think it makes a lot of sense. Like being a manager is really no easy job. It's a huge time commitment. So I think it only makes sense that you think that would definitely affect your preparation. And I think it's interesting that because I know that you're definitely you're playing in this 5th match, whereas if I'm not mistaken, TT Pong will not be playing in this grand finals, so we'll be able to invest 100% of his time into managing and helping other team members prep. So I'm super excited to see if that will make any sort of impact on the results. But so I think we can transition over to TT Pong. Can you give us your thoughts on Akara Pong?
Yeah, your mic might be muted.
Oh, okay, sorry. He
Okay, we
practiced
can hear you
really
now.
hard. He practiced really hard, even thought his record are a bit more lost than win, but he played very well. All we see, he has been practiced so hard. We consider him a reliable team member.
Reliable, and I think that he is someone who just takes a team and really uses and practices and always wants to help his team do well for every matchup that he faces. And I also always remember on stream, I always write down for the casters that he made top, like the 9th place in Thailand nets, right? So almost make it into top 8. So you can see that he is a very strong player there. And
Yeah.
from John Mark, I also have to say that it does feel very stressful to be a manager and also worry about your match every week. So man, this 5th match, if the matches are really close, like the scores are really close to this point, this is gonna be so like scary and nerve-wracking to watch for both of you guys.
Definitely.
Absolutely. And I think we can go ahead and go over to the 6th match. So as Evan just mentioned, some of these matches might not end up even mattering if one team ends up going for a 4-0 victory or not. But we have really the man of the tournament here, the one and only Navjeet Joshi, who is 8-0 so far, just absolutely unprecedented in this tournament. And yeah, it's crazy to me to think that maybe his result might not even affect the final outcome. But on the other flip side, it might just be the absolutely decisive match as well. So please give us your thoughts on Navjeet.
To make it even funnier, I talked about how we did tryouts. He also went 3-0 in tryouts.
Whoa.
So really just established himself early on, built momentum, and really just performed extremely well throughout the tournament. Like week 1, we told him, okay, we're not going to field you just because it's early. We want to make sure that at least everyone gets a chance to play. We know that we're going to be confident in you, so you're going to be in afterwards. And it might be the only reason he doesn't go 10-0, or this match might be the reason why he wouldn't go 10-0 even if he played week 1. But we put him in, and we jokingly say, okay, we start 1-0, because he's just been so consistent and putting so much effort in making sure, okay, those are the matchups that I might expect. I'm gonna practice every single matchup to make sure that even if they try of going into a good matchup against me, it's not gonna change anything.
Right. I mean, you have to be over preparing for these matches to, I mean, just visually, you can see just the consistency and the kind of teams he's been bringing. Just basically the exact same core every week for 8 weeks straight. And yeah, you can't get away with not preparing and make this kind of result. So just really remarkable. But over on Thailand's side, I know Gun is not going to make it easy for him, especially since he probably just cannot predict the kind of team that Gun will be bringing just by looking at the variety here. So, yeah, TT Pong, can you talk to us about Gun?
For me, he is a readable team member. He can play any teams if he practiced long enough. Can play right low risk team and high risk team. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's very reliable, and I could see that he started playing VGC in 2014, and you can see that team versus Japan, the one with the regularization, that's not a mistake from our end, the graphics, right? But he does seem so flexible and so creative, and is able to bring something that surprises your opponent. So man, this matchup is going to be amazing, right? Like when someone who has consistently used the same team and is not worried about any matchup goes up against someone who is very creative. And I'm excited to see how this plays out.
Yeah, it's just a total difference in strategies and theories around the game. So yeah, I think this has to be one of the top matches to look out for. So really excited to see this one. Really hope that it becomes a tight match between these two teams, so that this will just be an absolute spectacle. But without further ado, I think we can transition over to the final match. If the matchup becomes 3-3, then it will be Neil Patel from Canada versus Panyawut Noijan from Thailand, being the absolutely decisive match to wrap up the entire tournament for us. So yeah, just John Mark, maybe you can let us know about Neil here.
And Neil is someone who also started really making a name for himself during the online era. 2020, 2021, I think mainly 2021. He made the team last year where we looked at his accomplishments and said, okay, he might be decent, and then he tried out and okay, yeah, he's really good. And the way we both how we see him play and the way he team builds is so interesting. Where I don't know how many times where I look at one of his games, I think, okay, I think he lost, and then suddenly he pulls it out of nowhere and just makes a comeback. It's just it's definitely stressful, but at least we know we can rely on him.
Yeah, I can totally see how stressful it could be. Even just as a caster, it was a little bit stressful for me seeing him use the eject button Grimsnarl with fake tears on stream last weekend. That was just completely blew the mirror match out of the water and just gave him a really swift 2-0 victory. So that was just such a treat to cast, but also a little bit stressful to see how fast the games were going. And yeah, clearly just loves Zacian. I think he's one of the only players where you can see just a consistent love for Zacian, which is quite interesting because it's very different from the Palkia Calyrex Ice team that he prefers otherwise. And it seems to be one of the only players that you used all 9 weeks. So I'm curious if his stamina will hold up for the grand finals, let alone the very last match of the grand finals. So I think that could be a gamble. So I'm really excited to see how he will perform. But yeah, without further ado, we can go over to Panyawut from Thailand. Titipong, can you give us your thoughts?
He has a long experience in VGC community, and his play style is actually different from each other because like he unpredictable like my star, Avevesker and Nontaro. That's why he's so strong.
Nice. Panyawut, I personally met him at Worlds. So Panyawut, also known as Rizaya, and then My Stars and Nontaro, everybody went to Worlds, right? And just amazing to see them work hard to get there. And I also noticed here in my notes that last year in 2021 World Cup, Panyawut and My Stars both had 6-2 record, right? So they were one of the few MVPs of Thailand. So like you said, he is very consistent and sometimes unpredictable. and this will be exciting to see like two unpredictable players. In chat, we have a lot of new fans, right? Because Neil has made a name for himself online. Yeah, so how can these two unpredictable players go up against each other? If it is a 3-3, and I'm really hoping it is, then it's gonna be an amazing finals to watch.
Yeah.
One thing also that makes Panyu a bit scarier is the fact that
Mm.
two of his losses were after they won the week. So
Oh,
some of it might be just preserving info, just because they don't really need anything more after getting the week.
oh, that's so
So-
well said.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I think, us, Evan and I as casters, we definitely did a lot of research to prepare for this, this highlight here. But you can tell that Canada is really putting everything out there, just doing all this research that, we didn't really pick up on. So fantastic shout out from John Mark there. I think that's a great insight and makes Panyo a lot scarier than he might appear at face value here. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out. And yeah, I think that kind of wraps it up for the individual team and player profiles here. But I'd still love to hear some final thoughts from both of you. John Mark, after going through each individual matchup like this, like any final thoughts for us?
I really think that every match is probably gonna matter. Like even if it's gonna, I'll be surprised if it's gonna be a blowout because Thailand has been a very scary team and a lot of info. Like I said, a lot of the fact they had to play less. A lot of their players are more obscure, but also the fact that they had a very dominant bracket with 4-0s and 4-1s means that 2 or 3 of their matches are probably just fake info. Because, okay, yeah, we don't really need to reveal too much. We already won the week, so let's just give false info if they don't pick it up.
Right.
That
Yeah.
also makes it even scarier.
Sure, because when you just look at the results, you can see that actually a lot of the time Thailand actually won, 4-3 or something, but that might actually just be because they won 4-1 so quickly and they felt that it was just not worth showing information. So another great shout out from that one. Over from TT Pong, any final concluding thoughts?
We are grateful to be in final, and we will show the world that Thailand has a lot to offer in world-class Pokemon competition. It's a pleasure to be here, and we will do our best.
Oh, so nice to hear. Like always being grateful for coming all the way. And I noticed really like from an organizer's perspective that every time when like Thailand sets up a match with another opponent, so we set up the channel Thailand versus so and so, and then your players will say, "Oh, it's very nice to meet you. I have the pleasure of playing against you." So really nice to see this environment come all the way through. And then for Canada's end, my personal thoughts are like these like group of friends are just so tight knit, right? Very similar to Thailand's group of friends, and just getting all the way here and riding the high through the playoffs just brought the team so close together in general, and a very nice, very like amazed to see how everything played out.
Yes, absolutely. And yeah, I think that sort of wraps it up here for the manager interview. So thank you again to John Mark and TT Pong for your time. Again, it's so valuable for us to hear these perspectives that we otherwise just wouldn't hear about. You might just talk a little bit about your thoughts, afterwards on Twitter or something. But so many things that we heard from you that can't fit into the 240 characters. So we really, really appreciate it. But on the other hand, we don't want anyone to go anywhere because we'll be right back with a caster showdown.
We actually have a video of like that VR has put up for both countries. So yeah, once again, thanks to Jean-Marc and thanks to Titi Pong, Bang Zeno for joining us. There are still 3 more matches to be played, if I'm not wrong. So no one knows the results yet. And good luck and have fun tomorrow. Excited to see how everything plays out as we crown.
Mine. I'm actually playing mine right after the interview is
I know.
over.
Yeah. So yeah. So we'll catch all of you guys like tomorrow and see how everything goes. Just good luck and have fun to both of you as we are going to cut into this video. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye. Oh, are we watching it like this? I'm not sure.
Hey guys,
Cool.
it's Alex, Spain's manager and current world champ from Victory Road's World Cup. I want to start by saying congrats to Team Canada and Team Thailand by making it to the finals. Honestly, I don't know if you guys were expecting these teams making it to the finals, but myself, I was expecting different teams. Possibly Spain, but Spain this year failed in the group stage. So yeah, this weekend it's gonna be happening the finals between both of these teams, and I got to say I'm rooting for Team Thailand, and the reason I'm rooting for Thailand is because Nontaro is on the team. I think Nontaro is a funny guy, kind of a meme, kind of toxic too on Shodown Ladder, but yeah, I'm rooting for them. I don't know who's gonna win because I haven't really followed World Cup so much after Worlds, but yeah, rooting for Team Thailand. All the best to both teams. I'm gonna be happy by whoever wins. So yeah, thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Casti, one of the managers of the Spanish national team, and I'm recording this video in order to congratulate both teams, Thailand and Canada, for reaching the World Cup finals and send you two best wishes and too many luck for the finals, except Nontaro because Nontaro is too lucky.
Okay.
So congratulations for that. It's really hard to reach this final because it's not only having good players, it's also have a good relationship between them and have a strong teamwork. So congratulate, enjoy the finals, and I hope we can face next year during the next World Cup. See you.
Wow, that's
Cool.
actually great to watch. I mean, we have the two managers from last year's champion in Spain giving a shout out, and it seems a little bit directed to Nontaro. A big favorite for Team Spain.
Yeah, I think it's a nice way to pass the torch over on to our two, countries that are, being represented, Canada and Thailand, to come to the final. So yeah, once again, thanks to everyone for joining us and taking your time. For John Mark, good luck with your match in a bit.
Thank you.
So yeah, don't go away. We'll be coming, like Yuki mentioned, we'll be doing a casters match right after this, but give us some time. We'll take a break and set things up. So don't go away.